So Beijing calls the U.S. extortionist over Pelosi's trip to Taiwan, and the Chinese ambassador plans to re-educate Taiwan if it takes over the island. Meanwhile, reports from just a few hours ago revealed China sends warships and jets closer to Taiwan as tensions rise in the strait, while Walmart is laying off hundreds of employees and Costco plans stores closure. And I received an email from a subscriber with some great intel. But first, I got a question for you guys. I came across a study that revealed that almost 80% of women did not want to work for another woman. And that's shocking. So my question for you is, what do you think about these findings? And if you're in fact a woman, I'm asking the women out there, the real women, and I mean natural born women and not someone who just transitioned into being labeled as a woman. You know, the ones that have the natural God-given ability to birth children. Is this true? Would you not want to work for another woman? Drop your answer in the comments below. All right, so Gail sent me an email, and number one, I have to say it's been one of the best put together and thought out emails I've received in a while. And number two, there's a very important consideration that many folks should make, and I'll get to that later on in this video. But the presidential board, or the presidential's executive board, the PEB, which is a 3-member committee appointed by President Joe Biden, and they have been taking testimony from the railroads and the unions about key issues in their negotiations. As you guys are all aware, there's a potential railroad worker, union worker strike that we're all trying to avoid, and the PEB is in place to help along with the negotiations. Comprised of the PEB, the chair, Ira Jaffe, and members Barbara Deanhart and David Twomey will issue a report by August 16th offering recommendations for the railroads and the unions. So mark your calendars for August 16th. We're going to be keeping an eye on that. After that, there'll be a 30-day cooling off period for both sides to consider those ideas. During the 30-day cooling off period, the unions will not be permitted to strike or engage in a work stoppage before the cooling off period ends. But honestly, who knows what's going to happen? We could find ourselves in the worst case scenario where we have no agreement between the unions and the rail side. And then we have a lockout on the Pacific waterfront, and we're going to have a massive disruption to the supply chain above and beyond what we have been seeing over the last 18, 24 months related to the pandemic-related impacts to the supply chain. Railroad companies, if they give in and meet demands, now this could mean that they're going to pay the employees more. But by doing that, this would cause them to more than likely increase their prices, and we'll see a rise in transportation costs that further fuel inflation. Now, what's that going to do? It's going to hurt those Americans who are already broke. The consumers are going to pull back, and we're going to see more demand destruction take a stronger hold. And this is just going to further push our economy down. Now, if that doesn't happen, and let's just say these employees, these rail workers stay working, is there a possibility that we'll see some quiet quitting and ultimately a reduction in productivity on the railroads in the transportation of the freight because they can't get what they want, but they want to maintain their employment to keep their income, but they're not going to give their 100%. And this is just another ingredient to the overall recipe of a total economic collapse. And this is something that should be a serious consideration for many folks out there as a result of what could happen, especially if we don't see an amicable solution between the unions and the railroad companies. But if the railroad companies give in, they're going to have to recover those costs somewhere. And I believe that those costs will be recovered in higher prices to their customers, which ultimately mean higher prices for us on the goods and services, primarily goods, that we'll see in the stores. And or some of these companies may cut back on the amount of goods, requiring less transportation costs on their end. But we'll have to cover that in a later date. Again, mark your calendar for August 16th, and we'll monitor that after the 16th and the 30-day cooling off period. But if we're building a community to share and help one another, Will women be able to work with one another or for another woman? The recent study that I came across said that 80% of women did not want to work for another woman. And this has been an idea that's been thrown around a lot on this channel, and I've seen it in emails, I've read it in the comments, and it's a collective effort for all of us to pool our resources and stop relying on the government, stop relying on big business, stop relying on the traditional monetary system and fiat currency, and work together as a community to grow and provide and nourish our families. But if the study is true and the results are accurate, and 80% of women say that they don't want to work or can't work or won't work for another woman, how would that work in a society where we're all trying to work together to help one another? Comment below and tell me your thoughts. Now, I'm not going to go and read Gail's entire email on this video, and I also don't want to broadcast her entire business plan for her great side hustle idea and opportunity either, but I do want to say this. Don't wait. Our economy is going to see a harsh decline, and although it'll be painful for many, it'll still create great opportunity for others. And I would do all I could now to build out my business, start working on my plan so that I'm ready now, and I won't have to get ready then. So let's just say it takes like 3 months to really get your small business ready to rock and roll. Would you rather use the 3 months time now while you still have another form of income, or would you rather wait until your income is cut off and struggle to muscle through 3 months without? Also realizing that within those 3 months' time, your competition is increasing because of the turn of events with our economy. Advertising is a very strong and valuable tool. Use it to your advantage. Build your business, build your brand, and start getting paid now, sooner than later. Because if you have a great idea for, let's just say, working class, middle class, even upper middle class, who could possibly see a decline in their income, a decline in their pay, a negative adverse effect as a result of the economy, mass layoffs, termination, hiring freezes, or whatever, you're going to want to be able to get out in front of them now so they know about you before SHTF. So that when SHTF does happen, when it really does hit the fan, they already know who they're going to call. They don't have to wait until that time comes to then wait for you to create your business model to reach out to you for help, for assistance, for whatever services you may be offering. So the sooner you can put it out there, the better. And the easier you can make yourself found, the better as well. Build your business, build your brand. Because unfortunately, we are headed for a economic collapse and total economic decline. And there will be some folks out there that can weather the storm. And there's going to be some folks out there that just won't be able to, they won't manage. They can't, they're already upside down underwater as it is. But for those who can, they're going to be looking for new businesses, new opportunities, new solutions to the problems that have been created for them. And if you have one of them, then you have a great opportunity, a great possibility of succeeding.